Baisaran is far away from the LOC. It's far away from the Indo-Pak border. How come the terrorists reached here? How did they pass all those different checkpoints? Search operations are continuing. The manhunt is on to find those terrorists. Right now, you can see these thick jungles. It said that this is where they were hiding before they entered Baisaran Valley, where tourists were enjoying themselves and started asking them for their identity before shooting innocent people dead. It has been exactly 7 days since the dastardly attack in Pahalgam. I'm right now at the spot from where you have three options if you want to reach Baisaran Valley, and that is you either trek on this 6 kilometer path, or you take a pony, or you take an ATV, and that's how you can reach that touristy area which is called as Baisaran. In the aftermath of the Pahalgam attack, right now this entire area is filled with security forces who are combing through the forest, who are making sure that if there's even an inkling, there's any evidence left behind which could help in identifying who are the people behind this attack, that evidence is found. Right now in Kashmir, hundreds of people have been rounded up. NIA has recently picked up the man who was operating the zip line, who was caught in the video by a tourist, for questioning. Apart from that, many other small tourist areas, because Baisaran itself is not a popular spot among people who come to Kashmir, but it was one of those underrated gems which people found beautiful and wanted to explore. Similarly, other areas in Kashmir, whether it is Betab Valley, whether it is Aru Valley, whether it is Dudpatri, many such smaller tourist areas that didn't have much tourist footfall but were beautiful beyond imagination and did attract some tourists who were always up for finding offbeat places. All those areas have been closed off by the government. The reason, of course, is because it's hard to ensure the security of every single tourist when they're off in these far off places, especially now when the entire Jammu and Kashmir is on high alert. Because terrorism has been around for decades. Anytime any off beaten path is opened for local civilians, the police is generally notified. The other question is about intel. Why was there no intel available that something like this could have happened? And it is being said by different sources in the military that there were inputs that something could happen. But this is Pahalgam, and those inputs are very frequent during this time of the year because the tourist footfall keeps on increasing the hotter the season gets. While there are many questions surrounding the Pahalgam attack, including how many people were involved, of course, it's being said that there were three terrorists who have been identified who were involved in the actual shooting. But how many others were involved in providing logistical support to those terrorists? How many others were involved in the planning of this attack? I spoke to some of the military experts in the region, and there was one question about security lapse which was highlighted just a few days before the Pahalgam attack. There was an operation that was going on in Doda, and in Doda, contact had been established with terrorists, after which those terrorists vanished. And this Pahalgam area, especially this Baisaran Valley, it's a series of contiguous forest and hilly areas that connects to Doda region. When questions are being raised, Baisaran is far away from the LOC. It's far away from the Indo-Pak border. How come the terrorists reached here? How did they pass all those different checkpoints? How could the terrorists make into this touristy area without getting noticed? Why was there no deployment of security in Baisaran? To answer all those questions is the matter of NIA investigation, is the matter of the investigation that the government is doing to understand where the security lapses were. What went wrong on the side of the security apparatus in Jammu and Kashmir that they could not protect those tourists. People with operational knowledge of how terrorists operate in the region, they mention that it could have been possible that the terrorists who established contact with security forces in Doda, they moved unnoticed through the thick forest and through the hilly terrain and reached Baisaran. They said these are trained terrorists, and among them there was one local militant, Adil Thokar, who had gone to Pakistan on valid documentation and come back after 6 years as a trained terrorist. He's a person who's a local here, who had knowledge of this terrain, who had knowledge of this area, and if he had been acting as a guide, it is a possibility that local support wasn't needed. Because if he was guiding the terrorists here, then he already knew which path they could take to make sure that they walk around these areas unnoticed. How could they disappear into the forest where they could find food without involving local people, without getting noticed, and by escaping the security mechanisms? This is what the security analysts are saying. This is what the people who have led multiple anti terror operations in Kashmir Valley and who know the pattern of these terrorists are saying. They're not sure. They say, of course, when the investigation is completed, there will be more information that comes to light. But right now, this is a possibility that seems most likely. On the other hand, it's been said that this Baisaran Valley area was opened to tourists without notifying the police, which isn't generally the case in Kashmir. The other question being raised is, why was the response time so delayed? Why did it take so long for the security forces to reach the area? And the answer lies in the terrain. This is the path that you have to take to reach Baisaran. And it may look walkable right now, but it gets worse and worse the more upwards you travel. Baisaran is just 6 kilometers from here, but right now this entire area has been closed off for journalists, civilians. Now it has been 7 days since the attack, and the presence of this armed vehicle behind me, the blocking off of Baisaran Valley, the continued operations are an indicator that everything is still not okay in Kashmir.